This video is brought to you by people who like, share, and subscribe to this channel. You can also support my work by buying me a coffee. The Fellowship of Guelphissauga continues, with the housing cost crisis, setting the tents, and protests ablaze. For the second time this winter, a fire erupted in the tent encampment downtown and made some homeless people even more homeless. These unsafe living conditions caught the attention of both the mayor and Greggles of Dorval. Dorval took his protest to the streets, whereas the mayor stayed cozy and warm inside at his housing symposium. He desperately wanted ideas for ways to remove the tents, ruining the view from his office window during the daytime. After seeking advice from the Lord of the Liberals, the mayor proposed a new Safe Space Bylaw to do just that. Can Carly of Klassen and the Elder Elves do anything about the housing cost crisis? And will a new Safe Space Bylaw stop the tent protests? On a cold winter's night, in the middle of the tent encampment downtown, the Shire's minimum wage earners huddled in their sleeping bags. They barely slept that night, not from the cold, but from the sirens and light show from yet another fire in a tent downtown. Firefighters arrived just in time to extinguish the blaze after it engulfed two tents. Luckily, no one was injured since the tents were empty and the firefighters couldn't determine the cause of the blaze. Some people thought the whole situation was suspicious, even though the Shire's firefighters said it wasn't. This was the second time this winter that a fire has destroyed tents in the encampment downtown, and the pattern was making people concerned. The first person to express his concern was Mike of the Shriners. He was worried about the dire climate the homeless people were facing and set out to change that with a recommitment to fighting climate change. The second person concerned about the situation was the mayor. Instead of being outside in the cold climate, he was sitting cozy and warm at his housing symposium at the Delta Hotel. Whereas the third person to express their concern, Greggles of Dorval, showed his commitment outside and in public space for all to see, unlike the mayor. The housing cost crisis was nothing new to Greggles of Dorval, along with the fact that this year's 8.52% residential tax increase was making it worse. Back in December, Greggles brought awareness to the worsening crisis by standing half-naked downtown in the cold. He's back again with another event on Woolwich Street to support his unhoused friends living in the tent encampment downtown. This time, he plans to spend the winter sleeping outside behind the Ontario Superior Court of Justice building. I'm planning on continuing to do everything I can, which includes staying here to help see my brothers and sisters through the winter, he said. He believes creating adequate and affordable housing was the biggest issue at hand. I would love to see a pilot program in the community that drives that, he added, with a call out to Mike of the Shriners, the CAO, Scott of Wilson, and the mayor. But Greggles of Dorval's call to action fell on deaf ears. As usual, Mike of the Shriners has his head in the clouds chasing climate change, and the CAO was busy planning his retirement. The mayor was also nowhere to be found, even though his buddies at the lamestream media showed up to cover the story. Later that day, once all the cameras were gone, the Ontario Superior Court handed out their justice to Greggles. They ordered a police officer to give him a trespass notice to get off their public land. The police also kept checking in on Greggles each day for, safety reasons and the overtime pay. so the fate of Greggles of Dorval's tent protest remains uncertain. Meanwhile, in the south end of the Shire, the mayor was enjoying his comfortable stay at the Delta Hotel for his housing symposium. Over the span of 2 days, he sat in closed-door meetings and dined in luxury with his dubious business associates while they brainstormed ideas on how to remove the tents ruining the view from his office window. Like most vacay conferences, the mayor spent his time playing icebreakers, the blame game, and feeling good about it. The first day of the housing symposium was for playing icebreakers. The mayor teamed up with his orcish friends to play the popularity game called If Only Our Community Were Known For. This game helped them brainstorm ideas to increase the Shire's popularity for attracting more tourism and business downtown. After 4 hours of chatting and a visit to the buffet, the mayor and his friends agreed on the best idea on the board: hugs and coffee. The mayor felt good after the first day of hard work. I really believe the county pulled people together in a way that I've actually never seen before. There was a lot of authenticity in the room and a lot of great ideas, the mayor said at the bar later that day. I would say this symposium was successful to the point that I'm really looking forward to the next steps. The who, the what, the how, and so on. The mayor rambled on after a second drink. The next day, the mayor woke up with a headache from all his hard work and signed up to play the blame games. His specialty is blaming the creatures of the province for the deteriorating state of his European-inspired Sim City, so he took a front seat at the meeting called If the Province... The mayor regained his voice while he shouted out reasons why the big blue orc didn't care or hasn't made him whole yet. After 3 hours of ranting and a visit to the breakfast buffet, the mayor and his friends agreed that their top excuse for blaming the province was because they sabotage every public service. The Sunshine Listers at the event will eventually release a full report on the housing symposium whenever they feel like it in a couple months from now. After taking a long weekend to cure his housing symposium headache, the mayor returned to his office downtown to apply all the great ideas. On the way out the door, he hugged his wife and kids and bought a coffee on the way there. But as he opened the door to his office, the cold, sober reality of the Shire stood in front of him like a white elephant in the room. There stood the growing tent encampment, ruining the view from the mayor's office window. He was furious with the spoiled view and didn't understand why the encampment was growing after he increased residential taxes by 8.52% and had a housing symposium. The mayor called the only person he knew who could help, the Lord of the Liberals. Normally a call to the Lord of the Liberals doesn't go through, but with Sophie out of the way, he had time to chat. The mayor asked him how he dealt with the camping truckers ruining the view from his office window in Ottawa a few years ago. The Lord of the Liberals chuckled at the question and told him to let no emergency go to waste. He said the trick was to label them as dangerous or terrorists and have the police take away their gas cans. Without any gas or propane, they can't survive camping downtown in the cold. Make it an emergency, he explained. The mayor leaned in as the Lord of the Liberals covered how to clean up his city into a safe space. He listened carefully to how he could use the media to convince people that the tents are unsafe due to their propane and gas tanks, just like the Lord of the Liberals did with the truckers. However, the mayor missed out on the last part of the call when it disconnected randomly, just like most calls do on the Rogers network in the Shire. He sat there confused, lost, and unguided since he missed the last step in the plan. The mayor needed to know how the Lord of the Liberals declared an emergency and acted, even though federal court justice Richard of Mosley recently stated that there was no national emergency justifying the invocation of the Emergencies Act. Back at the Council of Elders chambers, the mayor gathered the Sunshine Listers to transform downtown into a safe space, as the Lord of the Liberals advised. He had them draft a bylaw to ban unsafe and unwelcome behavior at the tent encampment downtown. They're proposing to ban tent encampments in spaces with competing public use during daytime hours and limiting the use of propane cylinders. It would also prevent any minimum wage earners from damaging or impairing the natural environment or use of property. They would no longer be able to gather or store building supplies, water, or refuse unless kept inside a temporary structure not banned through the bylaw. The mayor hoped this Safe Space Bylaw would work to clean up the view from his office window downtown. All he has to do was get it passed by the Council of Elders. Taking another trick from the Lord of the Liberals, the mayor booked this council meeting and vote exactly on Valentine's Day in hopes that the holiday distracts people from protesting his plans. Can Carly of Klassen and the Elder Elves do anything about the housing cost crisis? And will a Safe Space Bylaw stop the tent protests? Stay tuned here to see. This video is brought to you by people who like, share, and subscribe to this channel. You can also support my work by buying me a coffee.